Hey folks, it's me, it's your old pal Stu. Hope you guys are having a fantastic day. King Leper pre-order is down below. Blue edition, same as the green edition, same exact content, even the same custom Raven caps I designed. The ebook is for pre-order. You'll be able to buy the physicals, hardback and paperback on July 24th. Please do check it out. George R. R. Martin meets Poole Anderson. That's my log line for that. I think you'll enjoy it. It's great cover art by Jesse White. I want to talk about AI and the future of indie fiction. How AI is, has, and will destroy the indie fiction market. But it's okay that it's being destroyed. It's kind of already been destroyed already. If you want the really short point here, it's that I think we're in a transitional period where authors using AI will get replaced by services that just make content directly for people. And this will probably spill over into music, maybe video, maybe there'll be AI, some AI version of YouTube that makes AI content for people based on algorithmic recommendations rather than recommending the next video. It just makes it for people. But before I get into that, that's the gist of what I'm going to say. I do want to back up and say, hey, why are authors so into using AI for their books? And the answer is because the indie author space has always been about how to pump out as many books as possible with as little effort as possible to make as much money as possible. I've never been about that. I've been about me as an author, me as an artist, doing the things that I love and producing art that I think is really cool and I'm excited to do as a writer. But there's a reason that indie authors were really big and were very quick to jump on the AI bandwagon. And that was because they've never really cared about the art. They've cared about the idea of being authors. This is an ego thing. And they've cared about making money because indie authors don't get a lot of cultural recognition, right? We're not getting write-ups in the New York Times or anything. Because we don't get that, then what's the reasonable metric for quality? It's money. Did you make money? Are you making your living doing this? And if you are, then you're successful and therefore good and therefore real and therefore worth admiring. And if you're not, then you whatever, right? Maybe you're bad. I don't know. Versus kind of in the trad pub realm, it's like if you've been traditionally published and you're like a real author, even if you don't sell any books. So we have these two sides of the coin. The indie author people have always been more about the business. I've seen many ups and downs over the last almost 10 years that I've been in the business about how you make money, how you be an indie author, how you be an authorpreneur, how you release books, what covers are supposed to look like, how you release books in order to make money. I've seen the 20 books to 50K thing kind of rise and fall. There's been all of these techniques for how you're going to massage the great Amazon machine to give you money. And AI is just sort of the last gasp of that, of the slop carnival that is Amazon indie publishing. Indie authors were really quick to do it because it would allow them to not hire ghostwriters in the Philippines anymore, for example. It would allow them to just pump stuff out that much more quickly to hopefully make that much money. And even if you're selling less, like per title, it doesn't matter because you can just make so many more books that the volume would presumably make up the difference. The thing is that if everybody's doing that, or any sizable number of people doing that, it just destroys the market. People can't find the books they want anymore. There's just oceans, tidal waves of AI slop now. There's an honor system. You have to click that little box that says whether you used AI tools or whatever, but authors can't be trusted to do that, okay? The indie author sphere has been about gaming the system and cheating always, okay? So if there's a way that they could buy reviews to get people to buy the book, they do that. If there's a way that they could have click farms, click through Kindle Unlimited page reads in order to push their book to the top of the category, they would do that. If they found ways that people would click at the beginning of a book and it would auto flip 1,000 pages and they'd get all these KU page reads to try to like suck money out of the beast and to try to get their book ranked up so someone might actually buy the book, even though it's garbage. They spend all their money trying to like game the system instead of writing good books because ultimately their ego is not invested in being a great artist because that's just, you're not going to like get a lot of recognition for that on Amazon. So it becomes more about how you're going to manage the beast. There was a great question earlier this week, or maybe I guess at the end of last week, saying, AI, it's just a tool, right? And this was playing the devil's advocate. So I'm responding to that comment. I don't remember who wrote it, but I appreciate it. AI is not just a tool. It is erroneous to call AI or large language models merely a tool. Now, they're a thing that you use like a tool, but that does not make them a tool in the same sort of metaphorical way that a screwdriver and an electric screwdriver are, right? If you have a screwdriver that's screwing in a screw, you can manually screw that screw in, or you can get an electric screwdriver, get yourself an impact driver and drive that screw in, or like a drywall gun. I have one of those to do drywall. Just slams that screw in. It's great. It feels great. That's not the same thing, okay? So replacing manually turning a screwdriver with an electric screwdriver, you're still choosing where the screw goes. You're choosing what screw you're using. You're choosing how the thing goes together. If you're making a table, I always use tables as my metaphorical object of crafting, but you're making a table, you're choosing what the table will look like, what its dimensions are, you're cutting the wood, you're choosing where the screws go, you're choosing how you sand it afterwards. There's a bunch of stuff you're still doing to be a carpenter. If you have a robot, if you have an advanced humanoid robot and you say, make me a table, robot, would you say that you made a table? And you say, well, I'm going to give the robot some really good instructions. I'm going to say, I want a table. I want it to be 8 feet by 4 feet. I want it to have, Romanesque carved legs. I want it to have 8 matching chairs in a colonial style, right? You're like, okay, I'm rattling off a bunch of instructions, and the robot goes, of course, master. And it goes away and it carves it up and be like, haha, I have made this table and chair. No, you wouldn't, right? No honest person would. They'd be like, man, that robot made us a great set of chairs and table for our dining room. Amazing. Great. Good job, robot. Thank you, robot. You wouldn't say, oh, look what I have made. That would be like saying the Pope painted the Sistine Chapel because he commissioned Michelangelo to do it. No, the person who did the painting is the painter, not the person who asked the person to do the painting, or the person who even described it. I want you to paint a portrait of me, and I want to be wearing a turtle costume, and I want to have a spear, and on top of that spear is Bill Clinton's head. Artist, paint that. And the artist's like, of course, I am going to earn my commission. Here it is. I painted it. And he goes, and then you look at it and you're like, I have painted a great portrait of myself, haven't I? Because I gave you such specific instructions. No, you wouldn't say that because hopefully you wouldn't say that because you're not an idiot or you're not horribly dishonest. But this is what authors do. They have a robot do it and then they say they did it. Now, have I used AI? Never to write a book, but I have used AI to make covers. But when I make a cover, and I did this back when these image generators were kind of first coming out. Now, no AI made this cover. This is done by Jesse White. You can see some of his art behind me. His physical art, those are physical pages that he put the ink on. Okay. And he did this one as well, and it looks great. Human artist, right? So I still do hire human artists, but I didn't say that I drew the cover, right? When I had Midjourney or whatever generate an image, I didn't say, well, look at this cover that I drew. I didn't paint that. I said Midjourney made the image and I put some text on it. So I designed the text. Cool, good for me. I designed the text. That's what I did. And then someone else made the image. The same thing if I do like a photo composite, I wouldn't say that I I wouldn't say that I painted the picture, right? It's like I composited some photos to make a cover, and that's what I did. That's how I made the cover, right? I didn't paint a cover. Okay, it's a Photoshop cover. We've been doing Photoshop covers for 20 years because they're cheaper, right? So authors were the first people to use AI covers because they looked better than the Photoshop covers, which they used because they were really cheap. And they were also the first ones to be like, can I get the robot to write the book for me? And at that point, you're not an author, are you? You're a commissioner. You're a prompter. You're not an author. And we just need to be honest about that. So if you're an author and you're using one of these large language models to actually generate the text of your book, you need to put that on the cover. It needs to be by ChatGPT, edited by author name here. If you're really honest and upfront about it, I don't think there's an ethical question about it, right? You're telling the consumer what the product is and how the product was made. Just like how a Ford car doesn't come off the line with John Smith made this car. No, the Ford Motor Company made the car, and they did it on an assembly line with robots and people and lots of other people. One human did not handcraft your car. That's really obvious, and they don't attempt to deceive you by saying that. So putting your author name on an AI generated book is deception. All right, it's lying because people have an expectation that your name means you wrote it, means you chose the words that went on the page. There is a giant gulf between, there's a thin line between, say, painting a painting and on a canvas with oil paints and painting a digital painting in Photoshop. Not that big a difference. Even though we're using advanced digital tools, you're still making the image. You're still drawing the image. You're still forming the image with your skills. Same thing if I'm writing a book out longhand on a notebook versus typing it into a word processor. I'm choosing the words. I'm choosing the order of the words. I'm choosing what I'm going to say about a character when. I'm going to choose how the event is described, when it's happening in the book. I'm making all the choices. If I'm having a robot do it, that's totally different, right? Having Midjourney make an image is not the same as painting at all. And if you were to make an image on Midjourney and say, I painted this, you're lying. You're just a liar at that point. So it's the same thing with authors. There's not a thin line between that. It's like a giant gaping chasm full of broken glass and broken dreams. Okay, so don't do that. But that's where we're at. Now, is that going to destroy the market? It already has, because the indie market has been about slop for as long as I've been in it. It's about targeting microgenres, writing as quickly as possible for them, writing just a set of tropes that you think the reader is going to expect out of you. And that's been indie authorship for like the 10 years that I've been in it, as far as success goes. So making that next little jump to AI, it's no big deal. They've already been hiring ghostwriters. They've been buying reviews. It's been a very dishonest business for a really long time. And a large number of indie authors actually make their money selling author services, which I've gotten into. They actually make their money selling courses to other wannabe authors and getting the money out of them, because it's more profitable to sell a course for several $100s than it is to try to sell books to people. If I can sell one course to an author for $300, to make that equivalent amount of money, I have to sell like 300 ebooks. It's actually really hard to sell 300 ebooks. To convince 300 other people to buy even a low value product is difficult, especially when we're in this ocean of slop garbage where the reader is really unlikely to ever find your book unless you're heavily gaming the system, like you're spending thousands on advertising and you're using fake reviews and maybe, clickbot stuff and all that kind of thing. Anyway, the point I'm making here is the next step. We're in a transitional period. Right now, authors have the ability to con people out of money by using AI to generate their books and pretending that they didn't. But that will actually, I think, be supplanted by, this is like I have my fantasy hat here. I need a science fiction hat. Where's my goggles? My future sight here. In the future, that'll be replaced by a service, and people will be like, it'll be like HoloLive AI. They'll get AI video content just kind of shot into their brain based on their interest. Just like how the algorithm suggests videos based on your interest, it'll just make new content for you based on your perceived interests, how you interact with the book. You can track like what parts you read and where you slow down, and it'll maybe ask you a survey afterwards, and then it'll make you a new book. So you'll just have a service that will make you as much content that you want to consume as you want to consume. And if ChatGPT can write the books for you, or whatever new AI can write the books for you, then we'll just take the author out of that. Why not have the reader directly prompt for the book? That's what it'll be. And in fact, it won't even need to be a prompt. It'll just be kind of like the algorithm. It'll just be based on your past likes, your past interactions, your past engagement with various pieces of content. Think about how Royal Road is, but it'll be that, but just instead of you reading like a serial fiction article, it's just the AI is generating new stuff for you as you're going through. So I don't think this exists yet. If you are wanting to make that app, I'd be happy to help you, because I'm okay with like nuking. I'm okay with nuking the whole Amazon thing. Authors are already doing it. So, and it's already been a race to the bottom for years now. So yeah, why not let's cut the author out of it, and then the reader can just prompt for AI by themselves. Will they get bored of it? I think eventually they will. And then they'll ask the robot for something new, or it'll slowly fade away and we'll be left with something else. Either that, or this is the other thing, is that in the world of infinite slop garbage where readers can't find the books that they want or trust that authors have written them when they want to read something from a human, publishers will take on a lot more importance, right? Traditional publishing will have a little bit of a comeback because they are putting their seal of approval on it. They are stamping that it was made by humans and that humans vetted it and humans decided it should be published, and hopefully humans wrote it. Though I don't know how much of a meaningful certification that'll be. But anyway, they will have that. So they will actually be like a filter. And so they'll have a new role, I think, in the next stage of the market, that indie authors don't want to accept that traditional publishing could make a comeback. They want it to be dead and gone. And I understand that because they're not in it. And so, but I think it will have a place, whether it's, big time publishers or it's maybe smaller presses, having that seal of quality, like the Nintendo seal of quality. I think that'll make a difference. But leaving your thoughts down below. That's where I see the future of indie publishing going, and the use of AI, how that will and already has really destroyed the market as we knew it in the 2010s. Okay. The market as we knew it in the 2010s is dead and it's not coming back. You have to think of new ways. My way is not to try to rapid release slop garbage, but to make handcrafted quality books that are really reflecting my values, my heart, my thoughts, my ideas, my style, everything, right? This is a big book. It's not like a 20 books to 50K, 30,000 word, 20 book series. I could make a 10 book series out of this book if I wanted to. And in fact, if it was 2015 again, I'd probably do that. This would just be 10 books that you could read. Or like the entire series, which has been 3 large books so far, would be like 20 books that you could read through. Like just chop it up and sell it for $2.99 at a time, and always leave off at a cliffhanger, and you get people to buy through the series, right? It's all about maximizing your engagement with the reader and forcing them to buy more books. But no, I want a complete book. I want people to pick up a work of art and enjoy it. So that's what this is about. If you don't have it from Kickstarter, out the 24th of July in all major formats and all markets finally. So have a great one. I'm very anxious to see what you guys have to say. Not really anxious. I would love to have whatever you have to say, even if it's something else about that. So have a great one, and I'll see you all next time. Have a great day.